How do we burn calories? Throughout the last few videos about calories, I've talked a lot about the calories in versus calories out model and its importance when looking to lose or gain weight. We've looked at what being weight stable means, what a calorie surplus looks like, and what a calorie deficit looks like. But how do we actually burn calories? First up, let's look at an example of when we are weight stable. And on the left hand side you'll see the heading calories in, and on the right hand side calories out. And what you can see here now is a circle that represents the amount of calories, say I eat per day, all of which comes exclusively from food and drink, and which does also include the sauces we use and the drinks we drink that contain calories. We mustn't forget those. And as mentioned previously, this is why it's so very important to make good food and drink choices most of the time, because the caloric value and the amount of food and drinks we choose really does matter. So let's now look at the calories out section of this graph. Now, as you can see here, there are three components to my calories out circle: BMR, activity, and digestion. Now the larger part of the circle is my BMR. And for those of you unfamiliar with what BMR is, it's short for basal metabolic rate. And this represents the amount of calories we burn on a daily basis if we were to just lay in bed all day and night and didn't even lift a finger. Because your body still needs to use calories for biological processes within the body, such as your heart beating, breathing, your organs working to remove waste products, etc. etc. And that's all a very energy demanding set of processes, hence why about 60% of your daily calories being used are for those processes alone. Next on this circle we have activity levels, and this will vary from person to person, and in this example 30% of the calories coming in are being used for moments of activity, and those moments will be things like walking around, fidgeting, planned exercise, etc. Basically any movement over and above laying completely still, even blinking your eyes. And lastly on the circle we have digestion, something that's often overlooked, and digestion can use up around 10% of our calorie expenditure each day. And it's interesting to note here that it takes more energy to digest protein than it does, say, carbs or fats. So again, our food choices are oh so important from that respect as well, but we'll talk about this later in more detail. So to recap, this is a representation of being weight stable and gives you a bigger understanding of how our energy out is used. Let's now turn our attention to an example of gaining weight. And as we know, this is when our calories in exceeds our calories out. And although the percentages of the parts of the calories out circle remains the same as it was in the previous slide, overall the total sum of calories used only adds up to around 2,000 calories instead of 2,500, hence why weight is gained. Whereas when we are losing weight, our calories in is lower than our calories out, as seen in the next slide. Again, fairly simple stuff. The calories we eat here are lower than the calories we are using, hence we lose weight. So let's now focus in on how exercise impacts our calories out. Often, when we take the decision to diet or eat better, exercise goes hand in hand with that. So let's look at the difference between someone that's more sedentary versus someone that's more active. And what you can see here first off is a circle that's representing someone that's a typical office worker who drives to work and is seated most of the day, as opposed to someone that has a busy job where they actually burn a lot of calories doing what they do, a nurse in a hospital, or a postman, postwoman, for example. As a result of this person's sedentary lifestyle, most of the calories they burn is via their BMR, which you can see is a bit higher than the previous examples we looked at. On the circle, you'll notice the word NEAT, and NEAT stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis, and I have a whole video coming up on NEAT down the line, as NEAT is a hugely important piece of the weight loss puzzle. But for now, all we need to know about NEAT is that it represents all of the moments throughout your day when you're moving around, things like taking the kids to school, walking around the shops, being busy around the house, etc., etc. It's essentially all of your unplanned exercise activity. It's the sum of all your daily movement that doesn't include planned exercise sessions. And then finally again, we have digestion to complete the circle. So now let's compare that to an active person, someone that exercises often and gets up and walks around a lot. You can see that included in this circle is BMR again, NEAT, digestion, and also exercise. And even though this person's BMR is only at 60%, it's simply a smaller piece of a bigger pie. So if we now quickly look at the actual number of calories per percentage of the circle, you can see that on the sedentary person's side, their BMR equals 1500 calories, their NEAT equals 230 calories, and digestion equals 170 calories, which totals 2000 calories burnt for the day. For our active person, their BMR is exactly the same. Digestion is very similar, but their NEAT is higher by 270 calories. And remember, this is just by being busier and moving more, not exercise. And then we add in their planned exercise, which burns another 300 calories. And now we can see how being active and exercising can make a big difference. So this is a good time to think about how consistent you are being with your exercise and how active you are on a daily basis doing non-exercise things. Even parking that bit further away from the supermarket entrance will be the type of thing that helps increase the amount of calories you burn via NEAT. And with my app and the sessions I run, you have the ability to exercise often if you put your mind to it. The ball is in your court. So in this final slide, I now want to focus on why our calories in will differ from person to person. I'm sure we've all heard someone say, or even thought to ourselves, phrases such as, I only have to look at a piece of cake and I gain weight, or such and such eats whatever they want and they never gain weight, it's so unfair. So let's delve into this a bit deeper. The first block here is an example of an active exerciser. Let's say they require 2,500 calories again per day to maintain their current weight. They'll burn those 2,500 calories via a combination of their BMR, NEAT, exercise activity, and digestion, as discussed previously. But let's compare this first block to a non-active exerciser, a common one I'd say. This is someone who exercises just as much as person 1, but they aren't getting the same results. And as you can see here, this is largely due to person 2's lower levels of NEAT, and definitely not anything to do with having a slower metabolism that you sometimes hear being bandied around. Next, we have our non-active non-exerciser, and this person has the same BMR as person 1 and 2, and the NEAT and digestion levels are exactly the same as person 2, but they don't exercise, so their daily calorie requirement will therefore be lower than person 1 and person 2. And then lastly, the final block represents a yo-yo dieter. And as you can see, their BMI is slightly lower, and this is basically because the body becomes more efficient when you diet for long periods, which I'll talk more about in a later video to further your understanding of why this happens. Also, this person's NEAT levels typically drop lower, because the body wants to save calories effectively, which is why with this course I really want you guys to get out of the constant dieting, not dieting pattern you might be in and learn how to get to your desired goal weight and then stay there. So to recap, the chart we've just gone through here represents 4 different people that all weigh the same, but will all be different shapes and sizes, and you can clearly see that their calorie needs differ vastly. It's also true that all 4 of the blocks can be representative of us at different stages of our lives. So whilst my underlying aim with this course is to help you to stop being a yo-yo dieter, there will be times throughout your life when your calorie needs will differ because of things like changes to your job to a more sedentary or more active role, where you'll need to adjust how much you eat as a result. But at least if you're armed with the knowledge we're going through in this course, you can make informed and educated decisions beforehand rather than having to be reactive further down the line. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.